In the late spring of 1994, a group of 42 concert singers from the University of Mississippi landed on European soil. This trip to Amsterdam was the start of a 2-week odyssey through 3 European nations. It also began a journey of self-discovery for each individual singer and a bonding experience for the group.
One reason we like to take these trips with the students is partly the musical connection. You know, most of the world's great music was composed in Europe before this country was even founded. And so many of the great composers, we were able to visit their homes where they worked, the cities that they worked in, and observe the cathedrals that their choirs sang in.
Meeting and interacting with people from a different culture is also an important part of these trips. While in the Netherlands, the group spent an afternoon in the small town of Haarlem, conversing with choir members from a Mennonite church known as the Hidden Church. The sometimes overpowering volume of the meeting didn't deter the two groups from bridging their cultural gap. And later, it was time for the two choirs to do what they do best, entertain each other with music. This was the first time this group of Ole Miss concert singers stepped on a European stage for a public performance. It would definitely not be the last. The singers and their performance were both warmly embraced by the Dutch audience. But the next day, it was on to another country. This time, it was breakfast in Belgium, and later a day of exploring the cobblestone streets of Bruges, which led to many unexpected discoveries.
Just come fly with me. A dozen witnesses saw Andrea Fenton leave the ground when a low-flying plane clipped a 12-foot kite she was flying. The 70-pound girl had been hanging onto a 200-pound test line. When the Rockwell Torpedo Commander plane snagged the kite, she was treated for minor injuries.
Oh, yes, that's lovely. Oh, I love those.
Yeah, lemon strain.
Yeah, I went and bought today.
Yeah. These were all very inexpensive, but aren't they cute little boxes?
Actually, it's probably a bit cheaper over here than it is in France.
It is.
I stopped at this little, all those cafes around the square, the market square. Just sat down, just sat down at a table, and I was next to these 2 American World War II veterans.
Oh my gosh.
And they're here for, this is the 50th anniversary of D-Day, and they're commemorating a plaque for them.
Neat.
And they're gonna reinvade Normandy.
No.
They're like these 75-year-old men are gonna paratroop.
As the day drew to a close, everyone was back on the bus, which by now had almost become a second home. In less than 5 hours, another European border would be crossed, and Ole Miss footprints would be made on the French landscape.
I'm ready to go to Reims, because it's hot up here.
2, 3, 4.
Come with me, and we shall run across the sky, all through the night. Oh, I will try and guide you to better times, brighter days. So let's go up the ladder to the roof, where we can see heaven much better. Up the ladder to the roof, where we can see ladder to the roof, where we can see heaven much better. Up the ladder to the roof, where we can be closer to heaven. Up down, up down, up the ladder to up down, up down, up down, up the ladder to up down, up down, up down, up the ladder to heaven.
By the time the group had arrived in Reims, its members had become very effective goodwill ambassadors. Moving along the European streets and meeting the people had become second nature. The singers were so comfortable in this foreign environment that an impromptu concert by the O Miss Spirit Singers materialized in the city square, drawing a crowd of over 200 spectators.
Drew crowds out of nowhere. They weren't expecting anything to go on that night in the streets and wouldn't go home because they liked it so much.
As she passes, she'll ask what you know. Never changing her mind, is she cruel or kind? When she keeps you there and I'm alone. A moment ago, you came to my fancy. What's left for us to show? Is it farewell or what could be? My reverie or fantasy, stories untold, so since the morning dark can we find and know now.
My neck, it is hot.
It's a new French style. Like
New
you'll
French
be seeing
style.
it on the runway in Paris.
La
But
ponytail.
Doug's starting the tradition.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Aubigny-sur-Nier, sister city to the University of Mississippi's hometown of Oxford, the Ole Miss concert singers were given VIP treatment by local civic leaders. Along the way, there was an opportunity for a special rehearsal, with the singers taking advantage of the wonderful acoustics created by Aubigny's breathtaking cathedral. For the third time on this trip, the Ole Miss concert singers were preparing for yet another public performance. That night in Aubigny, they took more than just the stage. They stole the hearts of everyone in the standing room only audience.
Favorite place was definitely Aubigny, staying around with just the natural setting, the natural people, no big city. Met a lot of guys. They taught me how to fence. We communicated, had a really good time, and the concert that night, the music was just superb, and they responded to our energy, and we fed off of their energy. It was great.
Thank you very much.
Got to have great articulation. It rises and falls. Here we go.
For the next 48 hours, all focused on the international vocal competition. The Ole Miss concert singers would be competing among 30 choirs from 17 countries. Some members of the group would find this night to be excruciatingly long, but the morning brought a renewed confidence.
When we went in, I think the students were scared to death. And I wasn't scared, but I was very much on the spot because the choir has done so well for so many years and so many things. I felt like, well, here I am setting myself up. If we don't do really well at this, it looks like a letdown, and I guess to some extent it would have been. Although for 36 choirs, it had to be a letdown if they weren't satisfied, if they didn't get first place. But one thing that disturbed me was something that I knew to prepare for, and that was that the acoustics in the hall are not very live. And this means each singer hears more of him or herself and does not hear the person around them nearly as well. And so it tends to destroy confidence singing in this hall. So the main thing I had to do was psych them up to sing the music exactly how they had learned it without the confidence and security of hearing people around them as well as they normally do.
It would be the next morning before many of the singers would know whether or not the group had qualified for the finals.
That's cute. Is it cute? Is cute or not?
I think it's awesome. And I knew we would.
After a light breakfast and a quick rehearsal, it was back to the concert hall for a day of final competition. The pace would be frantic and the day long. Focus was the key word, and Dr. Jordan was determined to maintain the intensity as the group wasted no time in preparing for its second performance.
No mother, son, or daughter ever got anywhere by being timid.
This was the showstopper. He's Got the Whole World in His Hands was arranged especially for the group by Ole Miss music professor Ray Liebau. It would become their signature song.
This is the Liebau piece, man, our ace in the hole, brother. Ace in the hole. Ace in the hole.
The joyous celebration produced by the powerful feeling of accomplishment brought life to the streets around the concert hall. But this competition was far from over. There was still one performance left, and it would be the late hours of a French evening before the winners would be crowned.
Gosh, here I am not having anything to talk about again, so I'm going to say this one more time. Tonight is in one really big sense the last time you perform these pieces on an important venue.
As the long day of competition stretched into the evening hours, the intensity grew, and so did the audience. Unlike the previous performances, which were played to a house of 2,300 choral connoisseurs, the concert singer's fifth and final set would be on stage in Tours' jam-packed 10,000-seat city auditorium. Through cries of bravo, thunderous applause, and foot stomping from the international audience, the judges made their decisions, and they were all in favor of Ole Miss. The University of Mississippi concert singers captured 5 of the 6 top awards in the world competition, including the judges' and public's choice for Best Overall Choir. The group became only the second choir in the competition's 23-year history to win that many awards.
Had it not been for my father, I would have missed this moment. You know, I came very close, probably like 2 or 3 hours behind from not coming here. And he told me, he said, Yolanda, he said, don't dare let the group down, and don't you dare let yourself down.
They are wonderful. They are a great representation of our university, our state, and our country.
The morning after the Tours Grand Prix, choirs that made the finals traditionally perform an outdoor concert in this city park. Once again, it was Ray Liebau's arrangement of He's Got the Whole World in His Hands that excited the crowd. After a week and a half of intense preparation and competition, it was time to relax. And what would be better than springtime in Paris? It was definitely time for these champions to savor their victory and unwind by spending 2 days in the City of Lights.
absolutely cannot say enough about Janine and Natalie.
Farewell dinner at this Paris restaurant was not only an opportunity to highlight the group's accomplishments, but thank the adults and guides who accompanied the singers on this trip.
Tours is one of the two most prestigious choral competitions in the world. And these two, Tours and Arezzo in Italy, in 1990 decided to have sort of a playoff between all of the most prestigious choral competitions in the world. And so there's 6 competitions which have winners every year. And these 6 competition winners have a playoff the following year. And we've been invited to Arezzo for next year to compete against the only 5 other choirs in the world who are eligible to compete in this competition, and it's called the Grand Prix European. And we hope we can find the funds and can go, and hope we're better in this case than the other 5 choirs competing.
The Ole Miss concert singers returned home to a hero's welcome. An accurate description of their accomplishment in Europe would equate the Tour's victory with winning the Super Bowl. And the true mark of any champion is their ability to rise to the occasion.
I'm so glad that's something they'll be able to talk to their children and their grandchildren about to help define who they were when they were in college.